Welcome to Sports Back Talk with Boley and Ringer, and NFL playoffs.
Yeah.
First wild card round in the books, and you went
okay.
Three for four.
I did pick Atlanta.
You did pick Atlanta.
I missed the Tennessee game.
Think a lot of people probably did.
Yeah.
Especially if after halftime.
I hit the Jacksonville game,
Yeah.
which wasn't real hard. What a throwing game that was. And
Yeah, I was kind of glad I missed it.
And then I hit the New Orleans game.
Yeah.
So
This is the question that was bothering me while I was watching the game. Is the New Orleans offense that good, or is the Carolina defense that porous?
boy.
Well, that's a good question to start off with. Huh?
If you watch the last drive New Orleans had, which they tried to go in 4 downs because they thought their offense was that much better. Carolina stopped them.
Yeah.
Okay, it's unfortunate Carolina never pressed as much as they did the whole game. I think the Vikings defense is going to press New Orleans a lot more than Carolina did. Carolina kind of sat back. Okay, and they stopped the run, and they dedicated themselves to stopping the run. And it worked. I mean, Kamara and Ingram were basically irrelevant. I think between them had 35 yards, which is well below their 225-yard average between them. So they stopped that, but then you open up Ginn and Michael Thomas and that tight end Hill and breeze through for his typical 340, which is what he used to always do when they lost. And am I concerned about the New Orleans Saints against the Vikings? Yeah, I think it's the toughest matchup in the Final Four. There's no question. I think the game could go either way. But when it comes down to playoff football and the refs call it like they did this last weekend, which was they let a lot of the BS go and they let the players play, I like the Vikings' chances a lot because of that defense.
Okay. See, it seems, and so correct me if I'm wrong on this, doesn't it seem like Sean Payton's being awfully critical of the officials and the officiating, especially his blow-up, about a month ago when he lost his mind on national TV, and it seems like every time they show him on the sideline, he's got the ref by an ear. And doesn't it seem ironic that, 8-9 years ago, if this stuff would have occurred, was going in his favor, and now it seems to be going against him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not real well liked, by Vikings fans, because whether you believe it or not, whether it was Greg Robinson or it's always still going to come to the head coach on who was doing the headhunting for the New Orleans Saints against Favre and Peterson and that group, and the Vikings fans all remember that. Peyton could come across as arrogant, cocky, all the things I don't mind, I guess. And but it's going to be interesting when New Orleans comes in here, and we'll see. I mean, if they call it tight in the defensive backfield, that's going to be an advantage for New Orleans. But we'll see. It should be a fun, good, interesting game.
So,
and I got the Vikings winning.
And you got the Vikings winning?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what you had picked last week, too.
I'm not going away from that. I can't change
Atlanta
it.
at Philly?
I got Atlanta. I think I picked them to make it through all the way in, and I might be wrong. I'll have to go back and watch the tape. But
I think that sounds right. I hate to say it, but I think you're agreeing with yourself, and you're staying with the Steelers and the Patriots?
Yeah, I don't even know why. They shouldn't even be playing those games. Why are they playing them, Ringer?
Because anything can happen.
Not anything can happen. There's nothing that can happen. The only thing that can happen is if New England gets the same kind of weather they got this weekend. That would be the only way Tennessee won't lose, is because they might have to postpone the game.
That's the only way Tennessee. Okay. That's
how are they going to beat? I mean, they shouldn't have beat Kansas City.
Kansas City.
I mean, I thought the coach, I think he could be gone. They were talking about Malarkey being the coach that let go. I wouldn't be surprised if Andy Reid gets let go here in the next 3 to 5 days.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either after.
It's a big call, considering I think he has a lot of power and could get a job again one day after he got fired.
Sure.
Similar to Bruce Boudreau, but
you can't lose.
Is he the right coach to bring him into the next 10, 15 years? I don't think so.
I can buy that. So we're sticking with our same picks. Everything's cool. Let's move on to fantasy. How'd your fantasy team do this weekend?
Well, I got some bad cards. I did well in the first 2 rounds. I got Devontae Freeman and Michael Thomas. They both performed up to par, but Mohamed Sanu did well at 3, got me 75 yards, and then it went downhill. The 2 Jacksonville players, and I was trying to pick between them and a couple others, but Keelan Coles, who got 8 to 10 targets the last 3 games of the season, every game, all of a sudden Marquise Lee came from a miraculous injury and he played, which basically knocked Keelan Coles down to no receptions. So I got a big goose egg.
Okay.
And then my backup running back, TJ Yeldon, got sick. And usually a flu bug or whatever, you can deal with that. They're usually going to be ready for game time and they'll man up and play. But he didn't man up. He was sick and couldn't play, so we got a 0 based on he didn't even dress.
Wow.
So 2 of my 8 players got 0s. I picked the best defense in Jacksonville, which got us 12 points, and our kicker got us 4, which is a little sub below, but basically came down to my receivers and quarterback. I had Ty Taylor, which basically got him because of default. I figured he was the same as Bortles and Mariota and all them, and I was wrong, and I've been wrong before in fantasy, and I'll be wrong again. We just can't figure out days to get together as a league. It's gotten to a point where it's become comical, and other people value their lives, that their lives are more important than what they do than others. It's like, well, I got to do this because I spend time with my family, or I got to do this because I got my job. Really? They act like other people don't have families or jobs or kids, and we all do. We just don't
advertise
the fact that we are so loyal to such things. So stuff like that burns me.
So people are going to have to make decisions.
Well, no, they're always like that. They always will be like that. It's a simple.
It's
a simple arrogance that certain people
have. So you don't have a set date for when we're doing this.
Well, they're doing their Friday drive. I'm out, but we got a rules meeting, and now we got a guy who never shows up for meetings. All of a sudden, he brings up 8 different ideas to change things. Okay, there's a guy I want to listen to. He never shows up for meetings, and now people are saying, yeah, that's a good idea. It's like, what happens when he quits showing up again? And we have problems. He's never going to be around to help solve them.
There you go.
So I'm not mentioning names. I don't have to. They know who they are.
All right.
But I know I'm voting no on everything. I'll guarantee you that.
So
what's the old saying, Ringer? This league has been going for 28 years. It's the best league there is. If it's not broke,
don't fix it.
Exactly. Otherwise, you're gonna break it. You're gonna break the dang thing. And
there you go.
But anyways,
anything else on NFL football?
No. I see a bunch of coaches are trying to get hired, and I don't think it's fair. We go back to Shermer. I don't think it's fair, and I thought they had this rule that teams could start interviewing coaches while they're still in the playoffs. I don't think that's right.
I agree.
It takes their focus off what's in hand. They're taking away Shermer from being with his offensive team, his offensive players. I understand he wants a head coaching job. Who doesn't? The pay's better, responsibilities are higher, you get fired quicker. But I guess I look at it, and I thought the rule was there, Ringer, that you were not allowed to talk to these guys, and I know there's
the teams that get the bye. You can talk to them in the first week after the regular season, but now you can't talk to them because now they're
in action.
Now they're in action again.
Okay, so that's my reward is getting a bye. Is I get 18 people coming in and interviewing, seeing what my philosophy is on coaching the offense.
Yep.
What if they got a buddy? The guys that are interviewing got a buddy from our next opponent, the New Orleans Saints. Well, here's Shermer's philosophy on offense. Any little tip like that can help the other team, and I just don't like it. I wish the NFL would get rid of it. The teams that are getting rid of their coaches, shame on them anyways, because they're the same teams that are getting rid of their coaches every 3 to 4 years every year, because it's definitely not their problem or not their fault that they've drafted bad.
It's true. That's true.
Let's go. I'm wound right now.
You are. Let's talk college football. It's like 2 hours before the start of the national championship game between Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah.
Any inside information before? Because I'm sure you were listening to sports radio all day. What do you got?
It's a lot of people, amazingly, are taking Georgia. I heard today. Excuse me, Booger McFarland, the guy on Wingo and Golick, he picked Georgia, which I found to be surprising since he's an old defensive tackle and likes defense. I I don't know how Georgia is going to score tonight. I'm not going to watch the game. I might tune in and see what the score is every once in a while, but I would much rather go to the History Channel and see if I can go over to England. I'm saying I don't care. I do not like college football. I never have, never will. Ever since I got recruited.
Did you watch on Saturday?
What's that?
Did you watch football on Saturday afternoon?
Well, yeah, it's the NFL.
No. On Saturday, not Saturday evening. Saturday.
I had to.
You had to.
Yeah.
You had to watch North Dakota.
I had to keep the text messages in flow.
You had to watch North Dakota State and JMU.
And me and my brother did a pretty good job of that. I think Gerald was texting on his way to his hockey game. No, he played at home that day. I thought they were traveling, but I had to keep up to date and pretend I was excited. No, of course I was excited. And my family is heavily involved in NDSU. They made me a non-fan into a sometime fan of college football.
There you go.
And I appreciate everything they do for me. My brother-in-law Terry invites me down for a game about every other year, and he takes care of me, and I appreciate that.
Nice game by the Bison to come through with a win. Very defensive orientated. Could be very similar to tonight's game. We'll see what happens. It's going to be closer, I think, than everybody thinks. But I'll still stick with Alabama on the pick. And but I think I said 24-17 or 24-20 last week. I'll stick with that number somewhere in that vicinity. It's not going to be Rose Bowl-ish.
No, and I have seen some tweets, kind of unrelated but related. Why don't I ever know anybody that North Dakota State plays? And I think I tweeted back, well, they played Wolford and they played Sam Houston State, which got a LOL.
Right.
But I know for a fact they would love to go Division I. They just don't have the budget to go Division I. They don't have the facilities.
Yeah, exactly.
So they would need some alum to come up big, which I know there's some rich alum in the state of North Dakota and the state of Minnesota that probably could help out with this. But whether they want to come through or not, I don't know. Yeah, they got a quarterback that's probably going to sign a contract here in the next couple of years for over $100 million for 5 years, probably 20 to 25 million per. Maybe he's your answer to getting that program.
Well, and the thing is, you would need a new stadium. You'd need at least 40,000, probably 50,000 seat stadium.
Yep.
Are you going to play it outside? That's the next.
And can they get
thing.
40 to 50,000 fans?
Exactly.
We can build a stadium for X $1 million, but are we going to be able to fill it? They got a great following, much like the University of North Dakota Fighting Hawks, and how they follow their team in hockey. And but there's only so many people in North Dakota that can fill 50,000 seat stadium. So
I don't see it happening in my lifetime, and I got about 30 years left.
I say if it's going to happen, it's going to happen within the next 5 years.
Okay.
Because
it's tough.
They'll always be in Frisco, or at least in the Final Four every year. They just got that type of program. They got 5-6 guys waiting everywhere we go. But
everybody wants to keep playing. Or we got a live call-in on the show? No? Yes?
I don't know what the number is, so I'm not going to answer. Oh, it's my daughter, Sophie. Sophie, we're on the air. Did you have a question? Do you have any questions about sports? Who was your favorite hockey player?
Mike Bolton.
Thanks. She said me.
She said Dad.
Even though she didn't see me play because she wasn't born. All right, see you later. See, our first call in.
Our first call in.
You know,
Let's mark it down.
She wanted to know. I wanted to know who her favorite player was, and she answered me, and there it is, kids.
There it is. January
Schultz hit its
2018.
pinnacle.
We're making it. Let's talk Wild.
Yeah.
What'd you see in the last 4 or 5 days?
Not good.
Very unhappy on Twitter was my man to my right. You're, yeah.
Yeah, and reason is Bruce Boudreau's. I just feel so bad for him because he thought he was coming into a group of players that are going to show up every night. It's a skilled, talented group, but they got absolutely shellacked by Colorado, a lesser team. Now, if you remember, about a month ago, I went and sat in Daddy Daycare down in Duluth at the Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yep.
While my wife shopped. And I had said that game, Colorado was the better team. And the Wild won that game 3-2 in overtime. But even back then, I said, the Avalanche are coming. That's a very good team. And they proved it the other night, 7-2 shellacking. Bruce Boudreau very perplexed, as he said. He said, I'm just perplexed. I don't know what happened. I knew this was going to happen, but I didn't know how to solve it. Okay. And one player I bring out, again, now more than Stewart, because he's been benched for the 2 games, and I've been happy about that.
Right.
But now they're going to put Stewart back in, because that's what happens when you get shellacked 7-2. You bring in reinforcements, and I know it won't happen, but I would like to see Charlie Coyle get sat just for
a wake-up call.
Yeah, I mean, he's asleep. He looks like he has no care in the world being out there. Looks like he's uninterested. Looks like he doesn't want to play. Even when he scored to make it 6-0, are you supposed to jump up and down? But hey, when you haven't scored for a month and a half, you would have thought he would have had some emotion. Yeah. You know, considering we expect 25 to 30 goals out of the kid. And I guess I've always looked at him as being a Landeskog, David Backes, Ryan Getzlaf, and those are high praise, okay? But he has no meanness in him. He has a size, and he has a skill. He's probably skilled more than all of them, maybe not Getzlaf, but he's more skilled than Backes and Landeskog. But it's just one of those things as a coach, and I watch him play, and I'm sure Boudreau has similar feelings, I would think. Not saying my evaluations are as high as his, but I just look at him and just say, what a sad ordeal watching this kid play, and how much talent he has, and he's kind of letting it go away. And yes, Barbie Borger brought it up to me too about the fact that he's coming off an injury. Sometimes they can be a little off, a little, how do you put it?
Out of time, out of sync?
Yeah, out of sync, not as aggressive as they want to be because they're worried about that injury. So I'll take that advice and I'll give them another week or so. But, I watched Nino. He comes off missing 5 games and scores a hat trick. He's involved, getting in front of the net, banging. Parisi, I didn't see much of him in Colorado as much, but the first 2 games he was banging and hitting. And, there's one way you get, I've always learned, the best way to get involved in a game is whatever you do, make sure you get hit or you hit somebody the very first shift of the game. Because that's the best way to get yourself involved, and you'll have no surprises the rest of the game.
7-2, a little bit on Dubnyk, or were most of the goals?
Well, he's got to quit whining after every goal or blaming. He blamed Brodin, I think, for the 3rd goal. He basically did some arm movement at him, like, what are you doing? And he was whining about him getting hit by opposing players. Well, that's your defenseman. They got to keep those guys from getting inside like that. They got to box out. And the Wild didn't, I don't know if they could have spelled box out in that Avalanche game. The neutral zone was a live wire for McKinnon, and they've always prided themselves in stopping McKinnon. But right now they're still missing. You can't get down on them too much because they dominated the 2 previous games, and maybe they thought they were going to go into Colorado and do the same thing that they did against Buffalo and whoever they played the game before that
Who they got coming up this week? Florida, right?
They got Calgary tomorrow night, then they got Chicago Wednesday night, back-to-back. Calgary is at home, then they got to jump on the plane right after the game, get to Chicago about 2, 3 in the morning, get up the next morning, get ready for the Blackhawks, and then I believe they got one more, or they got till the 17th, I believe. Then they're on a 6-day bye.
Okay.
It's a hiatus where all the guys get to rest again, and I'm sure we're going to hear many of the players come right out and say, now I'm refreshed, just like... And then we got the All-Star game on the 28th and 29th, so, I mean, there's more breaks in the NHL than needs to be. I mean, there's too many.
World Junior Championship, any comments there as far as the United States taking the bronze and Canada winning the gold, and the captain for the Sweden team throwing his silver medal into the stand?
That was probably the biggest disappointment, I guess. And seen lots of tweets. I don't know if you've seen my comments back.
I did.
But everybody's throwing out the word passion like it's, something you could,
I'll say that. I understand. I can cut you off. You said something about passion during the game, and then sportsmanship, or whatever the word you said after the game.
You got to separate.
And I agree with you. You hit it right on top of the head with that statement about the fact that you can be whatever during the game, but afterwards you go shake the other guy's hand, whether you got your butt kicked or you kicked his butt or whatever. You got in an argument, you got in a fight, you pulled out part of his beard. Whatever. You go over there and you shake his hand. You say, "Nice job, win, lose, draw." And you definitely don't throw your silver medal into the stands. I don't care how passionate you are about the game.
And what a lot of people didn't see is their other high-end player. This was a captain throwing his medal in, which right there is a bad sign. It basically tells the kids that are coming back next year that you can be a bad sportsman and be a jerk after the game or before the game all you want, because nothing will happen to you. And their coach, if you watch their coach, he was chirping at the ref. He actually gave somebody the finger, one of those silent fingers, and if, a lot of people don't know, but on the third Canadian goal to make it 3-1, it was the empty netter. Their high-end player Rasmus Dahlin was the last one back, or he got back, and he took his stick and just wound up and just started beating the glass. I bet he beat the glass 3-4 times with his stick until it broke. Again, you got little kids around there watching the game. He's in, 17? He's a young kid. He's 17. Okay, so he kind of got, he's going to be drafted number 1 overall in the NHL draft coming up. Super talent. But again, when your two best players are showing that type of sportsmanship and the coach doesn't do anything about it, because he's kind of the reflection of it all, if you watched him on the bench. And I always kind of cut myself down for that, because I would get a little irate on the bench. And that goes down to your players. And that was one of my faults, is sometimes I overreacted to things, and then all of a sudden your players are the ones chirping. I try to fix it after the fact, but by then it's too late. So you got to be careful, and the reflection of how your coach acts on the bench can actually go right out onto the ice and before and after the game. But I get a kick out of Rangers fans. We can hardly wait to get this guy in New York. He'll show us how to win. Well, they didn't win. Okay, he's a nice player, but they didn't win, and the whole thing was an interesting topic, to say the least. And how many people were for and how many people were against, and so it was a good fun topic. I didn't chirp too much because it was a controversial one, but I did watch. I did look at a lot of them.
I don't want to I want to come back to hockey, but the Baker Mayfield thing after the Rose Bowl, again another how do I say, inappropriate, not the right timing, wrong comment. If I'm an NFL GM, how risky do I get? Because you talk about a head coach and everything rolling downhill, while a quarterback's the same way. If you have that kind of person leading your team, or at least leading your offense, doesn't that set a bad tone? So, I mean, am I rolling the dice by being number 2 or number 3 in the NFL draft and saying, well, I'm going to take Baker Mayfield. I don't care what he's done, wherever. Aren't you a little nervous about that?
Who's he remind you of?
The guy who's going to be playing in the Canadian League next year. He reminds me.
There's the flag.
He reminds me of Manziel so much, I can't believe it. And I mean, if Cleveland drafts him, you better be ready for Manziel all over again, because this guy does not know, and we don't know what he's doing off the field, because God knows if he's doing that on the field. That hasn't been good either. What if he's been doing that on the field? Heavens knows what he's doing off the field. I feel bad for anybody who goes out and drafts him with a high pick. If he drops down now, you take a Randy Moss who had red flags up the, back when he got drafted, and the Vikings took him at 21 or 22 back in 1998. Now I can see when you drop him down and you take a chance, you're like, okay, we can deal with that. We didn't throw the franchise away. So I just, I couldn't draft the guy.
No.
I wouldn't want him on my team.
For his sake, he better hopes nobody drafts him until the New England Patriots come up.
Because they can deal with that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, it'll be handled. Okay, it'll be handled with one meeting, and it'll be before the draft. And Bill Belichick will sit down with him and say, here's the deal. We're going to draft you if you're there.
Yeah.
But here's the rules. If you don't live by them, you will be let go. And anybody who gets let go by the New England Patriots, you know there have to be something wrong.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Unless it's a financial thing. They had to get rid of Garofalo just for the fact that they couldn't afford to pay him $25 million a year, because that's what he would have had to be, because they would have had to protect him.
Yeah.
So, again, that whole controversy, we won't get into that whole thing, but the only thing, I think Baker, I wouldn't go near it. Okay? Plus, he doesn't have the arm. All his variables don't check out. The one thing he has is competitiveness.
Yeah.
Okay, he has that. But at what degree? He isn't tall. He doesn't have a great arm. He's a little slower than a Russell Wilson. So that part of his game is very good. I look at those overtime drives that Oklahoma had in that overtime. Did they throw the ball? Did their coach make those plays because he didn't trust his quarterback? Can Mayfield change the plays in the huddle? And if he can, why didn't he? Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah.
Okay, why is he handing the ball off? To me, the Heisman Trophy, that's where I want the ball. I want the ball in his hands. It was not in his hands in that overtime. They end up losing because of it. So, say what you want about Baker Mayfield. Great point. We do agree on it.
Okay.
He will get drafted probably in the first round. But I think the team that does, they better know what they're doing with him.
Did you watch any college hockey over the weekend? Did you
I watched last night.
You watched St. Cloud State?
Well, that's the only time anything was on. You couldn't watch St. Cloud and the Gophers on Saturday.
Actually, you could have if you got CBS Sports Network.
Was that 401?
401. It was on.
You got that? What are you doing with expanded?
Because I got to have my stuff. I got to have
it's like $400 a month to have that.
Gotta have it.
My goodness
anyway,
gracious.
I did watch parts of it on Saturday night. Of course, it was kind of tough with the football game on and everything else that was on. And so anyway, any comments about Gopher or
Well, the
Husky
only thing I'll
hockey?
comment about is ridiculous too many men on the ice call. Did you see that?
I did see that.
I mean, the guy's going off the ice ringer. It happens 25 times a game. Okay? All of a sudden, a TV camera catches it. How does he know that TV angle? How do they know for a fact, other than going back in previous feeds, on that there was 6 guys on the ice? How does he know that nobody jumped on the ice at that point?
Great point. I don't know.
I thought it was... boy, if there's ever a spot for conspiracy, and Motzko was, I imagine that thing's not going to end. If you see the Frank Serratori blow up on the refs while we played Denver, that was classic. Did you see what happened after that?
No.
Well, he said there's 3 things I haven't seen. It was the Sasquatch, the Easter Bunny, and something else. He says, I have seen Santa Claus because I saw him in New York and he was sitting next to us at the bar and he could pound his beers. But at the next game, he's coaching and the camera's on it and he looks behind him. Great big guy, about 6'4", wearing a bunny costume. Of being one of the things he's never seen in his life. So Serratori, I know him. I've talked to Frank before, and his sense of humor is like right out there. Great guy. And he looked back there and he just lost it. Just started laughing when he saw the Easter Bunny. It was like perfect timing. But anyways, refs in general, what are you going to do with them? Can't get rid of them.
There you go. What else?
Oh, geez, I'm trying to think. It was a busy weekend, lots of sports, lots of local stuff happening. Went and watched my brother's girls team play Marshall. I thought they played them very well. I thought they could have won. Again, probably missing a player. Could maybe use, missing Maggie Roeder. We could use her on there. And he's had to mix things up, and he's trying some girls back on D, and that's what you got to do. You got to try different things, but they easily could have won that game, and They have won 2 overtime games in a row, which I thought was pretty good considering I think they've lost their last 7 or 8. And boys hockey got a sweep of Ely and North Shore, which
and the North Shore was a big comeback. They were down
Yeah.
4-2 after 2. And
they don't
3
give
goals.
up, do they? They've had a couple of these. Fort Francis was really
Fort
the
Francis
one
was a big comeback that we probably shouldn't forget for a while. And so a good weekend there for the Bronco boys hockey team. What
I
else?
think what else? Hockey, football, nothing in baseball's going on. We don't have anything there. And basketball, the Timberwolves beat the lowly. Who did they beat? Pelicans aren't bad.
Pelicans, New Orleans.
They lost to Brooklyn. That was as confusing.
They lost to Brooklyn.
I see Brooklyn almost beat Boston last night, so Brooklyn's probably getting better. And how about the LeVar Ball thing going on?
What an
I got a story to tell on this. You go ahead.
What an idiot. That's all I could say. You're the dad and you're calling out the coach.
Calling out Luke Walton.
Yeah, just
Has he met Bill Walton? Bill's got a few screw loose.
Bill.
Okay. Bill does games, and him and LeVar are going to butt heads here soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would say that Bill is far more intelligent than LeVar. Just by the way, not that Bill doesn't do some crazy things, but I think Bill was pretty smart in his day, and I don't know LeVar, just the way LeVar runs his mouth, he just comes off as not being. He doesn't think things through before he says them.
Now you know Dickie Vitale, right?
I do.
Dick Vitale, the great legendary coach, more legendary announcer and mouthpiece.
Yeah.
But very good. I mean, he's a great person.
Yeah.
He's got everything, quality, and I was following him on Twitter. And I followed him, and he'd make a little snide comment once in a while. Why did people talk to LeVar Ball? And he did it again. And then the day before, not yesterday, but the day before, he commented about LeVar Ball. And I put a tweet on. I said, who would ever unfollow Dick Vitale? Because what he's saying is, why do people keep giving this guy publicity while Dickie V, who's probably got 1 million followers, is posting tweets on why do people keep following LeVar Ball? So I told Dickie V, I got to unfollow you. So I unfollowed Dick Vitale.
Wow.
What a deal. The nicest guy probably in the United States of America. And Bowie had enough.
The thing about it is ESPN is toting this barge so huge it just drives me crazy. It makes me want to stop following ESPN. It makes me want to stop watching ESPN.
Well, there's stuff like that going on. Carmichael, the coach, came right out and said, enough. ESPN's got to quit doing this. If they don't, we got to get our sponsorships to tell them to quit doing it. Because they're the ones that are over in Lithuania, doing interviews and talking to the kids and videotaping the kids' practices and then sending them back to the States. And until people quit doing anything, which is tough in our social media,
It is.
and basically in media land throughout the United States, CNN, ESPN, everything. They just want everything that they can possibly do it, and the more controversial it is, they think the more people will watch it, which can be true at times. But until that happens, we'll still be hearing LeVar Ball's name for whatever reason.
I have to. I know this is hard to believe.
Think we can get him up for Icebox days?
I would say since school started,
Yeah.
I probably have watched SportsCenter all of about 20 times because I can't stand that's all it is. There's no highlights on there. I mean, I used to watch SportsCenter for the highlights, to watch what happened at the games. Yeah. Now it's all about the analysis of this, that, and the other thing.
Sports, a lot of the sports talk.
It's not what it used to be, and that it
How
makes
about
it
Kenny Mayne, though? You don't like him?
Kenny Mayne gets on my nerves a little bit just because he goes beyond. I mean, you want to have
the old
fun.
I don't care type attitude, it wears on you.
Yeah.
I don't have to be in sports, but I am.
Yeah.
Right?
I just he I don't know.
But maybe someday he'll turn into Dan Patrick and he'll be doing Sports Jeopardy on an irrelevant channel.
On an irrelevant channel.
Anyways, I really have nothing else. How about you?
Thanks, everybody.
Don't take us too serious.